United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Norm, your mic.
My name is Norm. I'm
Roll call, please.
Trustee Polly,
Present.
trustee Lappin,
Here.
clerk Palovich here, treasurer Ellery Summers here, trustee Kroll,
Here.
trustee Reiner,
Here.
supervisor Skibby.
Here. Moving forward to the adoption of the agenda, are there any additions, corrections to the agenda as presented? Seeing none, all those in favor of adopting the agenda signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Agenda adopted. This is the first opportunity for public comment. If there is any public comment, please stand at the podium. Michelle, would you actually turn on the mic, please? State your name for the record and limit yourself to 3 minutes. Oh, I apologize.
No problem.
Thank you very much. Is there anybody online that has public comment at this point in time? And your WBKB, Tiffany, is recording, correct? Mr. Ginter?
Hello, my name is Kevin Ginter. Probably most of you know me. I find it unfortunate that I stand before you guys today. I think it's kind of ridiculous that I'm standing in front of you today because I don't have anything really good to say, because the reason we're here today is because certain members of the township board and members of the city administration and the city fire chief and whoever works with him that's in cahoots with this whole thing has brought us to a day that's, quite frankly, ridiculous, kind of stupid, run by either arrogance, bad leadership, bad decision-making. People come into public office and all of a sudden think they know what's up. I mean, there's nobody in this room that should have been put in a position other than the township's own fire chief to be the consultant and subject matter expert for anything to do with the fire department. Behind his back, the architect from the city fire that built this whole plan, and we're still talking about it today, 6 months later. I'm looking for somebody to stand up other than Mr. Lappin at the last meeting I attended about a month and a half ago. And finally, I didn't really have much faith in Mr. Lappin right at the beginning, but Mr. Lappin got it. He was hitting on all the points. What about the future? What about the township? Where are we spending this money? What is going on? But we all sung, I mean, this stinks like bad politics, like nobody's business. I find it, today I was thinking to myself, you know, how can't think of the right word right now, but I mean, we just stood up and did the Pledge of Allegiance. What for? What's it supposed to be respect for? And I read the announcement for today's meeting, and it says to have respect for the township board and your neighbors. Respect for who? This is a sham. My whole, my main focus was not about myself. I don't even live in the township, but I was a township firefighter. And the math, the matrix, if you look at any kind of response matrix, how does a department that used to cover 9 square miles cover 9 plus 120 or whatever website you look at? I mean, who's going to step up? And who's going to rally the troops and say, this is a public safety hazard. I mean, you got rid of the, there's a ton of stuff. I mean, I could be up here for 2 hours or 3 hours, or at least as long as Mr. Forbush, and has what, 30 seconds?
No, actually, you had your 3 minutes. So thank you very much.
Well, thanks for the warning.
Any other public comment? Moving
Yes,
forward to payment of the bills.
This is Larry Clark. Could I make a comment?
Oh, sorry. Yes, Mr. Clark, I heard your voice.
Okay. All set?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you for the opportunity for the public comment. I would like to give the board and the paper and some other organizations that are listening an update on the situation out of Partridge Point Park. We at South Bay agree, of course, just a continuous position that the residents are in with people speeding through there and drug paraphernalia on the road. I have talked to several township or several Partridge Point residents of both North and South Partridge Point Road. I'm hopeful that maybe a solution has been arrived at. Well, I did send an email to Cody Stevens of the DNR Forestry Division after also talking with several of our board members, asking them to consider moving the gate that's at the Frog Lane parking lot up closer to the road such that maybe 2 to 4 vehicles could pull off the road and in front of the gate. And also create an area where walkers and wheelchair citizens can go around the gate. Would need to be graded, of course, for wheelchairs. So I think that'll do a couple different things. The DNR has been out there several times. Even today, they literally chased somebody out of the Frog Lane parking lot. And really, if I want to thank Cash Kroll and Deputy Lash and Cody from the state police. He's sergeant at the state police because they have been out there. I also want to thank Partridge Point residents and our own board members that have been out there repeatedly picking up trash. The park is very clean. And I'm just waiting to hear back from the DNR. I'm hoping that something might arise from that here in the near future. We have decided to put the sign on US 23 on hold for now. That's all.
Thank you very much for your comments, Mr. Clark. Is there anybody else online that has any public comment? Or yet again here in person? Seeing none and hearing none, moving forward to the payment of the bills. I believe that Laura, you got an email out and then the sign up sheet has made it way around. I'll entertain a motion to make payment of the bills.
Motion to pay the bills.
We have a motion on the table to make payment of the bills. Is there support?
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Clerk Flavich, yes. Treasurer Ellery Summers. Yes. Trustee Kroll,
Yes.
Trustee Reiner.
Yes.
Trustee Polly. Trustee Lappin.
Yes.
Supervisor Skibby.
Yes. Moving forward to the minutes of May 11th, 2021, a regular meeting. Is there any corrections or clarification needed, or I will entertain a motion to accept the minutes as presented? We have a motion on the table to accept the minutes of May 11th. Is there support?
Support. Was that Laura?
Laura. Been moved and supported. Any further discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor of approving the minutes of May 11th, 2021 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Oppose the same. Minutes approved. Next is correspondence. We have the Planning Commission minutes of May 10th. Is there anything to that meeting date that you would like to, as a liaison from the board? Trustee Foley, would any comments?
No,
Okay.
at this point. That's fine.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to receive and file the correspondence as presented.
I'll make that motion.
We have a motion on the table to receive and file the correspondence. Is there support? Support. It's been moved and supported. Any further conversation? Seeing none, all those in favor of receiving and filing the Planning Commission minutes of May 10th, 2011 or 2021, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Oppose the same. Moving forward into old business, fire department update. At this point, Trustee Lappin, is there any update of fire department other than the fact that between yourself, Trustee Reiner and myself met with members?
Nope.
Okay. Well, and part of that is the draft intergovernmental agreement for the potential contract of services with the city. Therein, this was just one more step to continue conversations. Is there anything, any discussion to be had about the intergovernmental draft that is in everybody's packet?
I was just curious, I know there were other options presented, was that looked at in the meetings, like the paid on call option or the extension option?
Well, I'll let Mr. Reinhardt speak.
Well, we can extend the contract, or we can ask to extend it, obviously, but we still have to come up with a decision, but by September. So if that's what you're on about, the extension of the existing contract. So yes, we've talked about that and whether or not it makes sense while we're also talking about this contract or this proposal to continue with what we're doing. You know, do we continue to build or try to build? Because I think try is the operative word here. Try to find personnel to populate the department while we're still talking about those other options and so some point we have to make a decision of a direction. And the other option was paid on call. We don't have very many paid on call now. And so can we do this with paid on call from the township? And so for me, that the paid on call will still be a functioning part if we go forward with the city. But right now, we don't have enough paid on call, I don't think, to do the job. That's from my point of view, and as 1/3 of the committee. But so to me, we're getting at a point where we need to make a decision as a board. We need to have public input, other than what we can have at our meetings at 3-minute increments, and we need to pick a direction. I've had a lot of positive public input from people who've, looked at what's been happening and what the service has been at the north side, and so that positive thing was about, not trying to have 2 independent departments if we can do it within one. But I know that's not everybody's thought process as we heard here tonight. So, but what I've heard too from some folks who are opposed to trying to work with the city is conclusions without information, specific information. So I'm leaning towards making a motion to propose this, but I don't know whether we propose it so that we get something specifically developed with the city and then have public input, or if we have the public input and then see what we can propose to the city.
Trustee Lappin, additional comments?
Yeah, we've talked about various things and we still circle back to the problems that Russ has pointed out, that we just have these timelines to deal with. And the one issue that I still have, not so much now because this language is potentially cleaned up, the idea that long-term, we wouldn't be walking into a similar financial issue. So, because it's always been one of my key issues. And so I don't know, I guess, Russ, to get to your concern and relative to public input, I don't know how we could have public input without first seeing if the city has any interest in going along with what we are suggesting. And so we need to have both. I just don't know what order it takes. It seems to me that it doesn't make any sense to have a public meeting if the city is not amenable to the language. And so I guess you got to put that cart before that horse. But it would be nice if we could have more time to explore options that are in front of us. The Alpena News, I think it was in today's Alpena News, I think was talking about authorities and how well they work in other municipalities. But my history also tells me that they take a long time to create. We wouldn't have to necessarily reinvent the wheel because that contract language is just out there. But it would take beyond the period of time that this contract would extend to. That's my concern. So I don't know how to move forward. To me, the logical thing to move forward is to plug in some kind of a number, because we don't have a number in here, and run it up the flagpole. The only thing I can think of at this point.
I tend to agree with,
I would say,
order of
I would
operation.
also back up a little bit and say, if we're talking strictly about this document, as you guys know, my preference would be to operate our own facility and try to figure out a way that we can do it in a manner that is so that we don't have to not do a road project or not do this project or not do that project. We absolutely know that the millage is simply not enough, period. There's no point in discussing it. But that's the Achilles heel with us, because it necessitates digging into general fund money each year until such time as we can convince the voting public to increase their taxes to support a fire department that would be operated by and for the township.
So to my point of discussion would be, yes, the horse does need to go before the cart,
Mhm.
and not the other way around. Until this is one more step. This is following the steps that were taken through the ad hoc committee of looking at and looking for options.
Right.
And rebuilding in the exact same format was basically what kind of came out of that. We have talked about a plethora of options. This is just one of the options that's on the table, and we don't know if it's going to be on the other table.
That's right.
So that's pretty much the direction that we need to give consideration and discussion tonight with emotions. What I know that we've all talked and looked at this contract, looked for comments through our labor attorney, who also drafted and made sure that the language is fitting of not only our millages, but everything is copacetic. It just comes down to what is that dollar value that fills in an annual, and what is a dollar value that hits a cap. And then send it to city council. City council, if I'm correct, meets next week. And then we'd meet the following week. So my thought to that is sending the draft contract over to the city with those values plugged in, waiting to hear from the city, calling a special meeting for public input, because we did. And that's where I think that we could all be in agreement there, is that it needs to be a Q&A session. It's not just 3 minutes for public comment. What are your questions? Here's the answers that we've found. So that will be something that will be forthcoming, but I think it's preemptive to make any of those decisions prior till we hear whether or not this is entertained by the city. Simple as that. So. Yes, Norm, sorry.
So this document that we have in our packet, the way I understand this, is a draft of something to hand to the city to see if they want to get in the same sandbox. And our part of it, we've gone through a lot of the legalities here of everything being supposedly correct by our attorney, so that they can look at this and say, yes, we are interested in, but this is what and I believe that's what we're looking for.
It's just a continuation of the conversation.
I just want to make sure that's understood.
Any other discussion? Well, then, if that's the case, then I guess then the next point of conversation needs to be, what are those dollar values?
Right, fill in the blank.
The original city contract. 450, I think.
That wasn't the
Their
proposal.
rebuttal and their last proposal with 3 option was at 450. The original, which we came into November with, wasn't addressing the staffing of either of the stations. It was at a lesser value.
Did we ever receive anything from the city that would quantify that amount?
Well, what we, if any,
Yeah, by all means, sir.
what I understood we had was a figure based on the numbers of calls that they were advised we had per year.
Right.
I don't know that I heard the final result of that, but I believe we did some checking and that number was a lot less than, our number of calls was a lot less than what the city was originally told when they came up with that number. Granted, the city is not necessarily adding personnel or anything of that nature, but there's cost to be shared here. We have to recognize that, still be able to do it within the budgetary amount that works. I have a figure in mind that's less than 450, but I don't know when you want those proposed, but I can propose it right now. if you
By
want.
all means.
Yeah, but before we do, yeah, go ahead.
What I'm curious about is the number that sticks in my head was 20 runs. But I don't remember if that was the
That's
number.
what I
That
remember.
was 20 fires.
20, that's what I meant.
Fires.
Yeah, 20 fires, not life safety sorts of things, or, ambulance sort of things. So that suggests then that about $22,500 per run.
Is
And
that at
so-
450,000?
Yeah, assuming
Okay.
450. And so it seems to me that number was less than half of that 20, but I just can't remember.
It wasn't less than half, I know.
Okay, I just couldn't remember.
The number of structured fires was
Right.
a lot less. But the number of total fires, vehicle, field fires,
Right.
outbuilding fires,
Yeah.
sheds, things like that. Might be somewhat less than that, but not half of that.
Like I said, I just simply couldn't remember. And so I was. So it seems to me that whatever number we sort of, if the city's using just a arbitrary number, because we don't know how they came up with it. I'd rather not use an arbitrary number, but I guess we have to arbitrarily come up with some number. So I don't know what number you were thinking about.
My, boy, we're negotiating in public.
Well, it's a different tack.
I believe a fair number that would take us, that we could take to the city without being offensive would be 400,000 per year, which amounts to $33,333. Now, you'll have to tell us whether monthly is better for our cash flow or semi-annually or quarterly or whatever. You would have to tell us that. We could figure that out in terms of the specifics of when we put the number in.
And we can figure that out.
Yeah.
I think a fair number, I'm just gonna throw out my thought, is 375,000.
I originally had picked that number as well. I just don't know. I just don't know.
I'm just throwing it out there, just for conversation.
Yeah, and this is a unique process because we're doing things about this entire topic as transparent as possible. Like it or love it, good, bad, or indifferent, it is open. And that's what everybody wanted, and that's what we're doing. You know, we could probably go back and forth between 375 and 4.
I think the
Everything,
more important part of this though, if I may.
By all
keep
means,
jumping
sir.
in and interrupting, sorry. I'm
No
following
worries.
procedure. But I think the more important part of it is the point that Steve made earlier, is to lock in for a period of time with a cap on increases. I mean, we know what our budget is, we know what our millage is. And I'm not talking about equipment millage, I'm just talking about operating millage, which in my opinion needs to be increased by about 2.5 times to run an adequate fire department in this township. But I don't think anybody's going to agree to 4 mils for operating expenses. For a fire department. But if they do, and we get down the road, we can get back out to.
yeah, well, and there's a common denominator, and we can't go back in time and change things that went through the fire committee and the fire department that came to an agreement at 1.5 mils. But that was a discussion that's already taken place, and we can't go back in time at this point. So how do we look at a reasonable figure to send that in this contract is a 15-year contract? But yes, Michelle.
I was just gonna ask Laura, like you said, 375,000. It's more than just fires. They would be doing inspections, community service. I mean, there was,
I'm using that as a starting number.
okay.
Yeah, we're getting benefits that we have never had. in
I'm
our
just
township.
throwing that, I mean, you have to start somewhere.
Then the difference monthly is between 31,250 and 33,333. So, you know, that's the difference monthly between those two numbers.
What about the additional?
According to my
costs that
calculator.
we have?
Such as,
The 100,000 that,
The 100,000, the 109,000 that comes out of general fund to pay for that, it comes out of general fund currently. It's never been out of the public safety fund. So that's just been on top of what the general fund contribution is
is
to,
another 109.
So-
That's the shared expenses.
Yeah.
that's shared expenses. Yeah, and that's a discussion that needs to take place. We actually had part of that discussion earlier today
With the auditors.
with the auditors. So we're open for conversation. I mean, this is something this is a starting point of discussions. Any other comments?
well, even at, say, 350 and you got another 100,000 other costs, now you're at 450, and that doesn't include any increases over the term of this proposal. So I'm gonna say, you're already almost at our millage, the revenue we get from our millage.
And we can't be at our cost. We
So-
can't be and maintain those buildings. I've got some ideas down the road of,
So if you put a cap on it,
yeah.
your cap would have to be less than what the millage is.
Exactly.
And that's what Steve was pointing out, is this proposal includes a cap that would never go beyond 450.
But and then you got 100,000 to add, potentially.
But that 100,000 never, ever came out of the fire millage.
Yeah.
That always came from the general fund.
But it's still money you spent, that we have to spend.
And we're gonna spend that no matter what.
That's other public safety.
But that's there, it's not out of public safety. So that's,
It is,
It's out of general.
it's out of general.
But I mean, okay.
But yeah, considerations nonetheless. Last year, our fiscal, what we raised in terms of the collection at a 1.5 mil was just north of $560,000 that we collected. So there's a hard stop threshold right there. If that's what we're collecting this past year. Obviously, unless there's a repeat of a 2008 scenario and the housing market crashes due to overinflation in our nation.
Next January.
You don't know what that factor is going to be. But we're looking at, over the past 4 years, we've seen roughly a 3.7% increase in taxable value. So hopefully that's sustainable, but nonetheless, as of last fiscal, that was the collection at 1.5 mil.
And what do we do down the road if a millage doesn't pass to sustain the fire?
I think no matter how you slice it, with our own or a contract for services, millages should always be not only just a pro, but a con. You never know what you're gonna get. I mean, those are just the realities there.
I wouldn't imagine. I can't imagine people voting down something that would have such significant benefit to them for a variety of reasons. But I don't know that there's ever been a public safety type vote in Michigan ever turned down. I guess I don't know why people would do that, but I guess my issue, we talked earlier about how I thought that an equalizer to establish a cost of doing business connected to assessed evaluation as it ebbs and flows would be another unique way of looking at this, regardless of how we fund whoever did it. If we did it, if somebody else did it, if private enterprise came into play, to try to pay for services based upon a factor that will flow with the assessed evaluations of properties. We, in effect, probably do that now, but it would be nice to be able to button down the factor. This is what the factor would be to run a fire department, and it would never go beyond that amount. And so that would mean that we would have to budget, or whomever would run it would have to budget and stay within those budgeted numbers. And so, but I don't exactly know how you would go about doing it. I asked Chris Lewis if he could try to come up with some kind of a factor, and he gave me a great big old spreadsheet. And I'm like, okay, exactly what does that mean? So I didn't want to have to do my own homework, but I like the idea of some kind of an equalizer. That's why I felt that when we had our meeting, that the only viable way to do this for everybody would be to not have an open-ended contract that just allowed for adjustment after adjustment after adjustment, because over a relatively short period of time, actually I think the math was something like in 12 years, we were pretty much back to where we were. And so the idea that we would have 5 years in this contract to essentially bank money for future needs was appealing to me. And then the idea that we could hold down the cost to a maximum cost of doing business over a protracted period of time, in perpetuity, if you will. And so that appealed to me. And so, but I am stuck at the dollar amount. I think, I guess in the world of negotiation, I guess I would probably start with a lower number and arm wrestle from there, I guess.
So would I, but I've never negotiated in the public.
Yeah. It's sort of like letting the other people know what our hand looks like. So I don't know. I go to move this ball along. I think I'll just make a motion that we, and we can do the math on what it would cost from an installment standpoint. But I would go in with a number at $325,000. That would be my motion.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and support. Is there further discussion? Because part of that is, are you gonna address in a singular motion, a cap?
Yeah, and all of the terms remain the same.
But we actually have the section 2, the last sentence, the total. There's
Yes,
the
I'm sorry.
methodology there
I
in
didn't see
place.
I didn't see that was taken out. My apologies. Bear with me for just a moment. I would still be okay with the $450,000 because it really wouldn't come into play for many, many years.
So are you gonna make a friendly?
Yes, I will make a
amendment to your
motion that
original motion?
I will make a motion that the payment of services be to pay the city of Alpena a total of $325,000 per year in equal installments, whatever that math works out to be. I think it's well, whatever that math works out to be. And then under the total payment to the township shall be capped at $450,000 per year, absent further negotiations after all of the terms and conditions of this contract are met.
To the support? Are you?
Yep.
friendly to- Any other discussion?
Yeah. So the way it's written now, the figure that's agreed upon, whatever it is, would stay the same for 5 years and then be subject to a cap of 2% per
A
year.
2%
2% on that is
inflation,
6,500 a year.
and at no point will it cap out above. Yes, it would cap at 450, and that based upon the numbers would be many years from now. Long after I suspect some of us are
I'm
no
out of
longer
here.
here. And so that's why I like the idea of a contract that has a long escape clause. And this contract, as it is written, has a long escape clause. So if either one of us decided that we didn't like this arrangement anymore, according to the contract, it would take 15 years to get out of it, unless we both agreed that we would change those terms.
Any other discussion by the board? Seeing none. Roll call, please.
Trustee Reiner,
No.
trustee Polly,
No.
trustee Lappin,
Yes,
clerk Palovich, no. Treasurer Ellery Summers,
No,
trustee Kroll,
Yes.
supervisor Skibby.
No, not at 325. Because we also have to be mindful of the fact that we do have some sharpening of pencils. That's inevitable as we move forward. But I think trustee Reinhardt, you said it best of we're looking at, and it's a start point. And I know that, and this is just odd because we're negotiating in a public meeting. And so the rules that would normally apply of you can't fall off the floor isn't really an option for us at this point. And the paper that came toward us, good, better, and different. It was, I believe, at 450,000 a year. Now we can get clarification for how that number was achieved. But to look at $125,000 cut right out the gate in closed session, I'm with you. That'd be a wonderful negotiation tact. I'm fearful that that would not be, even in good context, that's a pretty hard hit right out the gate to even open friendly communications. And that's my fear there is we at least need to start a conversation. And I think that may be a little too low to even
All right.
start to dance on that floor.
I just feel it's almost insulting.
Well,
Start that low.
That's my concern, and
And I don't want to do that.
I should keep asking the chair here for some.
By all means, Trustee Reinhardt.
The I proposed an amount and I kind of really like, because that's where I was really starting at, or was where your number is. So yeah, having not voted for that one, I guess I would feel like I'm gonna have to go back to the textbooks. I used to teach negotiation. I don't remember teaching anything about public negotiations in this context, but
Well, the good news is we're on video too. So we can go back
so
and
the whole
learn our
hello.
tactics.
But anyway, I like to start at your number, or not start, excuse me, that's the wrong word, definitely the wrong word. But to perhaps consider that number as our go back number.
And I liked your number of 400,000.
Did you?
Yeah, I was good with 400,000.
Well, what that allows us to do is either way, allows us to maintain our buildings.
Which one are you
fire-
talking about? The 375 or the
Well,
400?
either one, really.
I
It would
agree.
allow us to maintain our buildings properly. I don't think we otherwise would have the 450 have enough to do with that. And part of our discussions, by the way, and this is not for any decisions here at this table, but our Southside Station is really not located far enough south. And so what I have in the back of my head is doing some sort of a change of that location of that station, which would require some real estate transactions and some possibly even some construction, if construction costs ever go down to a reasonable amount. And so those kinds of things are part of the whole picture that I've been thinking of, as well as a building that can house better, bigger, nicer equipment to do the job. So because we don't have facilities right now to house the most modern equipment. So anyway, you like 400, so
I guess, Norm, do you have any thoughts or on what a number would be?
Well, I didn't, and I mentioned it, but this is something to give to the city and say, we are very interested. We would like your response. Are you interested in what we propose to you, including the numbers? Can we talk about it? Is that where we're going with this?
well.
But we need a number.
We'll get to
And would we not ask the city to actually, as we're doing tonight, at the council level, formally respond?
I since that we're in open air negotiations, it's not our position to ask council to, I
Well,
mean,
we
if
can't
they,
tell them to,
if
but
if
we
they
can-
so choose to
Yeah,
do so.
yeah.
That is upon them.
Well, I
we've-
know that, but it would be
yeah.
our request, right?
It could,
ask
be.
for a request.
We could, whether they grant that or not, that is, it's a management tact of that council. We're doing this in a very unique format because we are continuing to do everything as open as possible, which puts us actually at a very unique crossroad in terms of any negotiation tact. So we have two numbers on the table. We could go back and forth and discuss them, or you could actually just do some quick math and split the difference and just say,
One number's down.
what?
One number's voted down.
Oh, one, well, yeah, we know that, but splitting
still two
the
numbers.
hairs of 375 and 400, you could just say 387.5, and that splits that gap.
Oh, sure. But may I say something in response to Michelle?
Oh, by all
I
means.
think if we went 400, that would that would have to be kind of,
Our max.
and so,
Trustee Polly.
But are we saying this is what we're doing? This is what we're gonna do?
oh, we're not saying this. is
We're
what
not
we're
saying
gonna
that.
do.
No, we're
No.
not saying that
We're
at
not saying
all.
that at all.
That's
Well,
not
this
part
is
of
just
this.
nothing more than it.
Well, we normally
Document.
don't, but we're just letting our laundry out for everybody. So
I know. Yeah, this is nothing, all this is
something-
just a
This
draft.
is something that we want to present to the city and say, we're very interested and hopefully you were interested. Now we can discuss this further.
Correct.
And we would like a response from you at your earliest convenience. And they're gonna come back, hope they come back with whatever they come back with, but they're gonna say, maybe they'll say they like it, maybe they don't, I don't know, but I'm sure they've got enough courtesy and politeness, they're gonna come back, something back to us. And so whatever this number is, like Nathan said, 3,750, maybe that's a number too. We split some hairs here, we put it in the middle. It's a number that can be looked at. I think it's a fair number. I think all of us on our minds have got kind of a number that we really would like to see, but what is that number? I like that 3,750. I was gonna go with 385, but 3,750. That's you splitting the hair down the middle.
Splitting it down the middle. Doesn't mean that's where it's gonna stay. It just means that that's not as potentially offensive
Pushing forward, but it's not, that's above.
With a 450 cap.
with the four. I mean,
I'll make that.
Well,
motion.
with the, yeah, with the four, same motion with the 450, it has to stay.
Are you making that
Yes.
motion, Norm?
I second it.
We're making sure this isn't an offer to the city.
This is,
For discussion.
just discussion.
Yeah, for
thank you.
discussion.
Yeah.
Correct.
What was that
Mr.
number?
Gold.
3,387,500.
387.5.
Oh, you said, we're saying 50
You said
before
50.
500
per year
Same thing, cap.
of
cap
450.
still at 450.
I think we're all kind of agreed upon the cap.
Yeah,
Right.
well, yeah, it's,
And ask for, please, a response.
we have a motion and support. Any further discussion at $387,500 per year and a $450,000 cap? Any other discussion for a vote? Seeing none, roll call.
Trustee Polly,
Yes.
trustee Lappin,
Second. No.
clerk Palovich, yes. Treasurer Ellery Summers,
Yes.
trustee Kroll,
No,
trustee Reiner,
Yes.
supervisor Skibby.
Yes. We will put that together and send it to Rachel, Matt. and They can take it from there. Moving forward on the agenda, Tim, I believe that you're,
I got a question in regards to, what was it, the termination?
Okay.
Is that correct in that subsection B says at least 15 years?
Yes,
yes.
So how would that work out?
Yeah, that's a little confusing.
Well, it doesn't,
It
when you
is
read it, it doesn't sound correct.
It sounds a little clunky, doesn't
It,
it?
it sounds a little clunky. That's what I had said to the lawyer. I had actually thought personally that we had talked about 5 years. So in other words, every 5 years, you could bring it up. How we doing? How's the marriage going? You know, so on and so forth. And if one party or the other said not so good, we want out, then the clock started for 5 more years. The way this reads, under the same
it's
scenario,
15.
the clock starts and then 15 years from that point is the escape. And so unless we both mutually agreed that, okay, we'll just terminate this agreement. But this is sort of,
This is linear language to another discussion that we're currently.
Thank you. And so part of my thought process is that you can't start, in this case, a fire department in a year. We've proven it. And so that's why I had originally thought this was 5 years. Personally, I would be more comfortable with 5 years. 15 years is a very long period of time. And that it would just seem to me that unless both parties agreed to it, it would be some other number. That's just me. And so, and again, it's essentially just a number. We certainly hope that anything that we do would translate to a good relationship. But I will also point out that if there was a opportunity into the future to, for example, have a fire authority, we would both have to mutually, if we entered into this agreement, we would both have to mutually agree to terminate it without that 15-year clause, so that we could, do something different. But
I would assume a fire authority that included the city.
well, yeah, that's true. However,
Doesn't have to include.
that's true, but they may not agree to the termination of the contract, and we may be into it for 15 years.
So do we want to make a
Well-
motion to change the terminology in this paragraph?
If you, I mean, because this is, we actually had this conversation with
So that'd
Lizzie,
be 10 versus
treasurer
15.
and the
It would be
clerk.
5. Yeah,
Well, I
so,
emailed her about this section because I wasn't sure
Still big years.
what it was.
10 years.
so then just to get the discussion going.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion that Article 8 termination subsection B be amended from 15 years to 5 years. So the only thing I'm saying is that we're changing the last sentence.
Yep.
Where it says at least 15 years, it should be at least 5 years.
After the date the notice is provided.
We have-
I'm sorry,
After the date the notice is.
right, after, yeah, all other terms and conditions would apply.
So we have a motion on the table to correct section 8, subsection B from 15 to 5. Is there support?
I'll support that.
And moved and supported. Any further discussion?
Yes, but and I agree with you wholeheartedly. That's what I thought. And my background is looking at contracts that the county enters into and trying to assist in language selection there. And and of course, county always wants an escape clause, in some way, either unilateral or mutual. And I think I agree as well that although we would like a long-term contract, such as the base term of 15 years, I think that is a good place to start if everything's going smoothly. But if and when other options become available, including the decision to have sufficient millage within our township to build our own fire department. Again, because frankly. we
Yeah, see,
barely have one right
in your scenario, it would take 15 years for us to terminate that.
Yeah, we don't want,
No,
I don't
no.
think so. And so I would like to see us, I think the 5 years though is a comfortable period of time to rebuild the department properly. So yeah, I think that we should support this modification in the proposal.
So we have a motion and support on the table. Further discussion? Seeing none. Roll call.
Trustee Lappin,
Yes.
Clerk Palovich, yes. Treasurer Ellery Summers.
Yes.
Trustee Kroll,
Yes.
Trustee Reiner.
Yes.
Trustee Foley,
Yes.
Supervisor Skibby.
Yes. And Dave, did you have anything internal for an update for fire department? sir?
No, make a clarification for some talking points.
Excuse me, Dave, could you at least stand to the podium, please? Thank you.
I understand that there was some misunderstandings or discrepancy with the NFIRS numbers that I was asked for and reported in subsequent discussions. So just so you guys know, when I was asked for that number and gave it, that was based on 2020 data. So what I did the other day is went back through, and I'm not even talking north side, just the south side, the log run book. And I only went the first 6 months and recorded the empirical data from NFIRS was, again, just south side in 6 months was 23 fire calls, 46 service calls, which would be where an ambulance went out and then requested an engine response. So that's a total of 69 calls that the truck would have responded with multiple people.
Just south side?
That was just south side just for this first 6 months. So if anything, I would have, if I apologize for the numbers, it would be that I was in the conservative side of that, not hyper inflated. So, and just my question for the board is when you guys are formulating this number, is that based on per call for the township, and how are you basing that?
Could you clarify, based on a contract cost
Yeah,
by, in comparison to run
yeah,
volume?
because that, I just want to understand that wasn't based just solely on per call, right? That was based on, I think, like Russ said, we're going to add like building maintenance and fuel and other costs and
There's
stuff into that.
a plethora of variables that came into
Okay.
play there. It wasn't just solely based on run volume.
Okay. That's all I have for right now. Just wanted to point that out.
Thank you very much. Moving forward, Tim, I think that you're kind of gonna have the next couple items, I do believe.
Sure, no problem. The next item is the installment purchase resolution for the new Smeel custom top mount rescue pumper that's coming tomorrow.
Coming
And,
tomorrow.
We're signing the paperwork tomorrow. Michigan statute requires that the board adopt a resolution. I think it'd be a good idea if I read it.
Yes, by all means.
Whereas Michigan compiled laws, section 123.721 provides that a township, after the adoption of a resolution by its governing body approving the action and enter into any contract for the purchase of personal property for public purposes to be paid for in installments over a period not to exceed 15 years and not to exceed the useful life of the property acquired as determined by the resolution, and provides that the outstanding balance of all purchases authorized under that statute, exclusive of interest, shall not exceed 1.25% of the taxable value of the real and personal property in the township at the date of the contract. And whereas the Board of Trustees wishes to authorize the purchase for the following described personal property to be used for fire protection purposes, Smeel custom top mount rescue pumper. Whereas the Board of Trustees has determined that the proposed purchase of the personal property is in the best interest of the township, will be for a public purpose, and will comply with the above described limitations and requirements of the statute. Now therefore be it resolved that the township is authorized to enter an installment purchase agreement with Smeel Holding LLC for the purchase of the personal property for the sum of $450,904 to be paid for in part with a cash payment tomorrow of $242,889.77 to the seller upon delivery of the apparatus, with the remainder of the purchase price being $208,014.23 to be paid in one installment, 1 year following delivery of the apparatus. Interest for the unpaid sum shall accrue during the 1 year period at a rate of 2% per annum, which will amount to $4,160.28, resulting in a total installment payment of $212,174.51, owing 1 year following delivery of the apparatus. The township's payment obligations under the installment purchase agreement shall be assigned by the seller Smeel to Alpena Alcona Area Credit Union, which was the outfit that you chose at your last meeting, on delivery of the apparatus. Further resolved, the township supervisor and clerk are authorized to execute an installment purchase agreement for the purchase of the personal property in accordance with the above purchase terms and other necessary documents related to the purchase, following your attorney's review and approval of the form of such items. And we have approved the paperwork for that. Everything is in order. Be it further resolved, the township agrees to include in its budget for each year during the period of the installment purchase agreement a sum sufficient to pay the principal and interest coming due under the agreement. And be it further resolved, the township hereby designates its obligations under the installment purchase agreement as a qualified tax exempt obligation for purposes of the deduction of interest due under the agreement from income tax liability pursuant to the applicable section of the Internal Revenue Code. That's it. So this is a necessary step to get us to this purchase.
So at this moment, I'll entertain a motion to move forward with the resolution that's been read for the purchase of the Schmiel apparatus.
I'll make that motion.
I have a motion on the table. Is there support?
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Any further discussion?
I have a question. Tim, I just want to make sure we're good. On the very first page, second paragraph, when it says that township's authorized to enter into an installment purchase agreement with Schmiel, should that be R&R?
R&R is a representative, but
Right.
it's still technically Smeel.
Okay,
Yeah, check
that's
into
all I
that,
wanted to
too.
ask.
Yeah, good
Just
question.
to double check.
Any other questions or discussion? Roll call, please.
Clerk Flavich, yes. Treasurer Ellery Summers.
Yes.
Trustee Kroll,
Yes.
Trustee Reiner.
Yes.
Trustee Polly.
Yes.
Trustee Lappin.
Yes.
Supervisor Skibby.
Yes.
I'll complete this, Michelle, and give it to you. The resolution.
Oh, perfect. Thank you.
Moving forward in the agenda, we're to the point of the adoption of ordinance 145 that we introduced at our previous meeting that amends our zoning ordinance, ordinance 142. Tim, would you like to?
As you said, at the last meeting, you introduced it. Notice of introduction was published in the Alpena News, informing the public that you will consider adopting the amendment today. I'll then arrange for publication, and it'll take effect 7 days after it gets published. And I'll alert Denise Klein and take the steps necessary for making it official. So I would need a motion to adopt ordinance number 145 of 2021.
Is there a motion?
make that
We have a
motion.
motion on the table to adopt ordinance 145 of 2021. Is there support? It's been moved and supported. Further discussion?
I just have a question.
Yeah.
And I apologize. I wasn't at the last meeting, so this was probably discussed there. This chart sort of confused me a little bit. So we're basically saying that wherever the P is in whatever adjoining zone under item A2, shipping containers are allowed, right? And then we're saying that wherever there's an S with the asterisk, although I couldn't find what the asterisk meant.
It's special use supplemental development
Yeah,
regulations.
but some of them had asterisks and some of them didn't.
Yeah, the asterisk is actually a supplemental development regulation. It's actually on top of the table in the header, just below table of permitted uses and that's.
Ah,
In
you mean that great big print?
It's that bigger asterisk. on the
Yeah,
same-
that area
And
that,
the shipping container
Yeah.
provision isn't related to special use or.
No.
Yep.
No,
Denise Klein was accomplishing a few things in this amending ordinance. One, addressing shipping containers, another, adult foster cares
oh,
and putting those in special permitted use categories or permitted use categories. That's where
okay,
the
Yeah.
table would confuse you.
okay, all right.
it's
Okay.
two instead of doing independent
A 2 for
amendments.
1.
Yes.
These are things that have come to be
All right.
suspect as
Then-
zoning administrator.
That clarifies that. Thank
Okay.
you.
So we have a motion and support. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Treasurer Ellery Summers.
Yes.
Trustee Kroll,
Yes.
Trustee Reiner.
Yes.
Trustee Polly.
Yes.
Trustee Lappin.
Yes.
Clerk Palovich, yes. Supervisor Skibby.
Yes. Moving forward,
Just-
Tim, oh,
I have a question.
yes.
Tim, will you fill this out and send it to me tomorrow?
Yeah.
Okay. Just
Yeah, that's
making
on my
sure.
list for tomorrow morning.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Anything else, Michelle?
Nope, that was it.
Now, the next item of old business is a public hearing, and in the aspect of a public hearing, Tim, I look for clarification. Do I need to have an entertain a motion to open?
Yeah, let's do that.
I will, at this point in time, I'll entertain a motion to open the public hearing for the North Point Shores Special Assessment.
I'll make that motion.
Support.
Motion and support. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, well, actually it has to be a roll call, I believe,
Does it need to be a roll call,
and
Tim?
a special assessment.
Yeah, we're,
Okay.
well, let's just do it.
Yeah.
Okay. Trustee Kroll,
Yes.
Trustee Reiner.
Yes.
Trustee Polly.
Yes.
Trustee Lappin.
Yes.
Clerk Palovich, yes. Treasurer Ellery Summers.
Yes.
Supervisor Skibby.
Yes. The public hearing for the North Point Shores Special Assessment is now officially open,
I can,
by all means.
I can bring in some background information. So it's Act 188 for a special assessment project. This is a private road. The statute gets us into Act 188. So today, this public hearing is to voice objections to the whole concept of forming a special assessment district. And you've already received a petition. More than 50% have asked for this. So there's really no way for property owners to overrule it at this time, but they can voice their objection, try to convince you, don't proceed with this project. If you do proceed with the project, then my law partner, Dan, put together resolution number 3. So the steps would be, we would adopt after the public hearing is concluded, resolution number 3. Resolution number 3 then also moves the project forward. And then, because the special assessment roll has already been prepared, and you'll certify this today, the roll's ready with the amounts for the assessments for the property owners. And so we would also adopt resolution number 4, which would say the roll's been done, it's on file, property owners can review it, get a copy of it, and it schedules a special or a public hearing on the roll. And that roll, public hearing would be then scheduled for June 8th, and Michelle would take care of publishing and serving the property owners with notice of that public hearing. So June 8th, we'll be back here for another public hearing on the roll. If somebody disagrees with the amount or the way the roll was calculated, that's when they object. That opens the door for them to go to the tax rate if they wanted, if they thought something was sufficiently wrong. So those are the steps. So public hearing, so anyone from the public that wants to provide input either here or online can do so now.
Okay. Is there anybody present that has any objection to moving forward with the resolution of adoption of the special assessment district to North Point Shores? Is there anybody online that is in objection to the special assessment of North Point Shores?
Or if they just want to discuss anything.
Oh, yeah. I know, I think we have a couple gentlemen here in representation of North Point Shores. Nothing here. Again, online, if there's any comments or discussion over the resolution to recreate a special assessment district for road improvement for North Point Shores, please raise your hand or let us know that you have a comment.
It's maintenance and improvement, correct?
Correct. Yeah, this is an ongoing, this is actually just a 2-year renewal. This is since we came into office.
They think it goes back to 1993-ish, around then.
So. Seeing that, and not
I
hearing
move
a
that the
lot.
public hearing be closed.
Okay, we have a motion to close the public hearing with no participation. Is there support to the motion?
Sport.
It's been moved and supported to close the public hearing for the North Point Shores Special Assessment. Roll call, please.
Trustee Reiner.
Yes.
Trustee Polly.
Yes.
Trustee Lappin.
Yes.
Clerk Palovich, yes. Treasurer Ellery Summers.
Yes.
Trustee Kroll,
Yes.
Supervisor Skibby.
Yes. At this point in time, I would entertain a motion to move forward with the resolution of adoption for the North Point Shores Special Assessment for
Resolution
2021,
Number 3.
number 3. I'd entertain that motion. Somebody willing to make it? We have a motion on the table to move forward and support by trustee Reiner to move forward with the resolution of adoption, that being resolution number 3. Any further discussion? Not seeing any. Roll call, please.
Trustee Polly.
Yes.
Trustee Lappin.
Yes.
Clerk Palovich, yes. Treasurer Ellery Summers.
Yes.
Trustee Kroll,
Yes.
Trustee Reiner.
Yes.
Supervisor Skibby.
Yes. Moving forward to the second resolution, resolution number 4 pertaining to the North Point Shores Special Assessment District. Is there a motion to move forward with special assessment resolution number 4?
I'll make that motion.
We have a motion on the table to move forward with resolution number 4 over the Special Assessment District of North Point Shores. Is there support?
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Any further discussion? Seeing none, roll call again, please.
Trustee Lappin.
Yes.
Clerk Palovich, yes. Treasurer Ellery Summers.
Yes.
Trustee Kroll,
Yes.
Trustee Reiner.
Yes.
Trustee Polly.
Yes.
Supervisor Skibby.
Yes. And then you're going to be,
I was just gonna ask Michelle, you're working with Dan on this one, I think.
He kind of leaves me on my own for these, but I'll get them done tomorrow.
Okay, and then publishing.
And I'll contact Alpena News.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Yep, good.
okay. Last item of old business, we discussed and send it to the Personnel Committee, was the building inspector. Cashier Michelle, do you have anything to add over the discussion at personnel? What you have before you, and actually this has gone through legal review and identical to the contract in which Mr. Gilman is operating under. This is agreeable terms to Kevin Pauley that would have an official start of June 1st and a temporary capacity until August 31st, or at which point in time he secures his building official license to the tune of $1,500 monthly. Is there a motion to move forward with the contract?
Make that motion.
I'll
Yeah.
support it.
Yeah, a motion and support to move forward with the contract for services of Mr. Pauley. Any further discussion? Yes.
Just for clarification, then this contract would only run to that date when he gets his license, or does this continue in effect
It would-
beyond that with the same terms?
It would be a change in terms, so that, and so as he will be afforded his building official capacity come August. Once he has that, then we're already in a contract with Don Gilmet. Don Gilmet will actually decrease and potentially, hopefully, work its way to not even having a contract for services. At this point in time, Mr. Pauley's, once he's secured his licensure, would probably be in a point of discussion for potential negotiation.
So there's going to be an overlap for 2 months, but which sounds like maybe beyond.
Yeah, yeah. Right now, one thing that we have discovered is that this is a building official position. As hard as it is to find a building official, we're fortunate enough to have a wonderful one at helm that has for the past few years been helping Mr. Pauley attain his certification through the state level. He is currently a building inspector, so he would actually be operating under the umbrella of Mr. Gilmet until he is a standalone official, at which point in time, that's why this is a shorter term duration. Yes, Michelle.
I just wanted to add that we have discovered, this used to be a full-time position, that we were paying a full-time person to do it, and it's really only necessary part-time. So,
And at this point in time, having taken over the zoning administrative acts, I have not been bogged down taking on that responsibility as well. If I ever feel that way, then this board would be made aware and we could have that conversation when that time comes. Any other discussion? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Clerk Flavich, yes. Treasurer Ellery Summers.
Yes.
Trustee Kroll,
Yes.
Trustee Reiner.
Yes.
Trustee Polly.
Yes.
Trustee Lappin.
Yes.
Supervisor Skibby.
Yes. Moving out of old business and into new business. Laura, would you like to discuss the Alpena County Equalization Maintenance Agreement for 2021?
This agreement is for the printing of the tax bills. They print stuff, give them to us. They maintain the roll on their end of the county. Last year it was based on 7,216 parcels at $1.85 a parcel, was $13,349.60. That number is not including the board of review, changes that happen for
When they.
poverty exemptions and
Property
things like
exemptions,
that.
veterans
Sorry, that's what I was
exemptions.
trying to think of. Anyway, so that's what we paid last year. So,
I thought this was this year's number.
oh,
of
I'm sorry.
parcels, because we
You
got it
are
from
right. Yes,
press.
I'm sorry. Yes, it is.
It's less than last year.
It's less than last year, right?
Wonderful.
Anyway, so
And this is something that
we've been
the board has
doing.
done
Annually.
years.
annually. for
And we
us.
budgeted, it's in our budget.
Yes.
Yeah, this is actually budgeted out of the assessing
Yes,
department,
yes.
correct? We kind of put all the primary funds in a single GL rather than divvying it out of two or three.
I make a
So anyway,
motion.
We have a motion to move forward with,
And Norm support for that,
Yes.
trustee Polly?
it's been moved and supported. Further discussion about the maintenance agreement presented? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Treasurer Ellery Summers,
yes.
trustee Kroll,
Yes.
trustee Reiner,
Yes.
trustee Polly,
Yes.
trustee Lappin,
Yes.
clerk Flavich, yes. Supervisor Skibby.
Yes. Moving forward to the next item of new business is a planning commission appointment. After a grueling few months of headhunting, we have an individual that I think that would bring a wonderful skill set to the planning commission, and that is Michelle Woodruff. And it is my position as supervisor. I feel confident in this appointment, but we've historically, I've always brought these appointments to the township board for approval. So at this point in time, I'd entertain a motion to approve. We have a motion on the table to move forward with the appointment of Michelle Woodruff to the planning commission for a 3-year term.
I'll support.
It's been moved and supported. Any further discussion?
When does it start?
She would
I
be.
don't know, so let's just.
Her maiden name is McEwen. She worked at PNC for quite a while. She's now currently with Alpena Alcona Credit Union.
I think I may know her. Okay.
No, if you've been in a very large room with a lot of people and heard a wonderful voice, it's probably Michelle Woodruff. She has an innate ability to gain attention.
She's not West.
Oh, she probably is. I've known her for quite a long time, but we have a deficiency, not so much a deficiency, we have an opening in the planning commission, but one area of expertise that has never been sitting at that table is from a financial institution. So she brings a unique skill set to the planning commission.
When does her term start if we?
She
approve
would
it?
be effective, I'll have her come in, basically it'll be June, so the next planning
So
commission
effective
meeting.
June 1st, or
Yeah, just June 1 is
is she 1 or 2 Ls?
2 Ls.
You're the only
Two
person in
Ls.
the world that has one.
Yeah, I think she's,
Can blame my father for that. He didn't know how to spell it.
Any other discussions, questions? I mean, she would make herself available for an in-depth Q&A if you would like.
We send them off to the MTA, any zoning classes?
We've historically tried to get them vetted into the process. The planning commission is in a very advantageous spot to come in with just a baseline of knowledge with certain parameters that meet skill sets that I like to see. But yes, we always afford training. One of the positives that the planning commission is afforded is a very sound, even though we amended it because we found a weakness in ordinance 142. The document as a whole is steadfast and in place. We also subcontract with Rick Dool that does plan review. So the layers of oversight are non-restrictive, but very direct. So there's a learning mechanism inherently existing. But yes, long and
Good.
short is if we can send them to an MTA and online training or whatever they're doing currently.
Years ago, I think I did an MSPO one, if I'm not mistaken. I don't remember what the acronym stands for, but I took a planning course. Very helpful.
Yeah. Yes, Norm.
That there is now with Rick on there and the new members and some older members, there's a lot of good eyeballs now that are working on what comes to the board. Very good board.
Yeah, it's a good commission. It's good.
Are we still going to be one person short?
Yeah, I'm still waiting on one other appointment. He did not. So we have a motion, correct? And support.
Correct. We have a motion and support.
Any further discussion? Roll call, because there will be an expense. in here.
Trustee Kroll,
Yes.
trustee Reiner,
Yes.
trustee Polly,
Yes.
trustee Lappin,
Yes.
clerk Palovich, yes. Treasurer Ellery Summers.
Yes.
Supervisor Skibby.
Yes. Moving forward, this is the second opportunity for public comment. If you have any public comment, please, if you're in person, please stand at the podium and state your name for the record and keep yourself to 3 minutes. And the same for online. If you have comments online, please raise your hand and we'll get to you in order.
Ready?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Beverly Banks. Watching this process is like watching molasses in Antarctica. It's pretty painful. Some of the things that even transposed tonight, I want to make a couple clarifying points. Number one, that document, it's my understanding, is the city's proposal. So doesn't that express interest to begin with? Number two, clarify, 109,000 is for one station. According to all of the things and documents that I have been exposed to, so that number would go up, if it's my understanding, if they have two stations. The other thing, this board on many occasions, Supervisor Skibby, has said the goal is to function within the millage. I understand that, I get that, but tonight, Michelle and Supervisor Skibby, you both just said, oh, well, that 109,000 comes out of the general fund. It's never come out of public safety. It comes out of the general fund. But isn't that in direct conflict with what you have said your whole point is to get within the millage? I'm confused. The other thing, arbitrary numbers. I have yet to hear a very clear, how did you come up with that number? Whether it's 350, whether it's 450, no matter what it is, what I do know from looking at hours of line items, we know exactly what it cost this township to run the fire department. Why would you not ask for that same exact information from a contracted department? I'm confused again. Okay. $1 in rent, that's not going to build a capital improvement plan for two stations. Paid on call.
I just wanted to let you know.
Am I
that there's
Garrett?
a-
Am I
a 30
close?
A 30-second.
Okay, I got it. Okay, paid on call. What exactly is an appropriate amount to run a department? I'm not sure that anyone other than maybe a couple people in this room right now can answer that question. And unless you have actually answered that question, dug in and found the information, I invite you to do so. The other thing is those people didn't just disappear. They're still around. They've gone to other departments. So maybe the question needs to be, why are they at other departments? Because of the actions of this board, no one else.
I'll give you a 30-second heads up since I didn't give you that courtesy the first time.
The city council does it.
City council also gives 5 minutes.
Yeah, and it does say in the language that you would give 5 minutes unless you needed to make it 3. But so why isn't it not 5 minutes?
Clock
Is this
running,
going
sir.
against my 5 minutes?
Going against your 3 minutes, but. thank you
Oh,
for the
so,
clarification.
you know, I'm gonna shoot these out pretty fast because 3 minutes is not fair. So from the time this apparently got discussed, 2017 or whatever, all this planning has taken place. And this is the option that you came up with? I mean, this is, what options? You're trying to ask the chief for options, but you don't listen to him. You browbeat him in a public setting. Like, oh, well, chief, you were gonna bring that form in that we are gonna talk about the pay raises, and then you're gonna sit here in a public meeting and browbeat the guy. It's discipline in private, it's praise in public. But there's two, make a commitment to the fire department. If you're not gonna make one to the fire department, then just say so. Stop with the smoke and mirrors and the make-believe and the, well, we gotta negotiate this and negotiate that. Please, just rip the Band-Aid off. Don't take it a little bit at a time. Sorry, Cash, you're a good guy. So, and then another thing that came to mind was someone had said that, I don't care what name is on the door. I mean, that comment's ludicrous. This is the fire department. This is a core service that you owe your taxpayers, police and fire. Support the fire department. It's not about what the city can do, how many training hours, how many smoke alarms that Andy Marcel goes out and installs. We do all that. How many, did you get thousands of letters every month, every day, talking about how bad your own fire department is? Support them. There's a home over by Corner Depot, sold in 2016 for was purchased for $130,000. SEV somewhere 40 or 50-ish. They're paying $82 a year for the fire millage. For $7 more a month, that same homeowner could pay 3 mills and support the fire department like it's been asked over and over. The money is not the issue. Although you're trying to make it, well, it is in one case and there in the other. Brings it back to, like, what is the city really giving you? They're already covering you for EMS protection, for ALS service. Then what are they doing? They're going to a few multi-company responses, a few fires. I'm talking structure fires, which are probably less than 10 in the entire township in a year. The only thing they're going to incur that I could tell offhand would be some overtime for callbacks. I think maybe 30 or 40,000 would. And then we're gonna talk about, well, that's lowballing. We don't want to offend the city, but then you're gonna put a millage through for an equipment 0.65, if I know better.
Just want to let you know, 30 seconds.
Awesome. And then you're gonna give all that equipment to ambulances, what, 160 each, a $500,000 fire truck. I'm not quoting exact numbers, but you know what I'm talking about. And then you're gonna give it all to the city to do whatever they want. There's no language, well, we can only use it on city township fires. You know where it's gonna go. It's gonna go in the city fire.
Thank you very much for your comments.
That wasn't 30 seconds. I'll see you at the next meeting.
Wonderful. I'll be here. Any other public comment? Anybody online that has public comment? Seeing none. Further discussion amongst the board? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
We have a motion on the table to adjourn and supported by trustee Reiner. Further discussion? Seeing none, all. Russ said support.
Thank you.
Time.
Yeah. All those in favor of adjournment signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Uh,
Meeting adjourned.